Hello, hello. This is Charlie Strecker, and this is the first episode of a brand new podcast called Music Talks, where we talk about music all the time, every episode. That's why it's called Music Talks. And this episode is going to be highlighting what I listened to this past month, May 2021. And so the first episode of this podcast is going to be available on my YouTube channel, Char Jungle, and my SoundCloud, also called Char Jungle. And so if you don't want to miss all the great content I'm going to be dropping, including this podcast, subscribe, follow me. And let's just get into it. So the first album I want to mention is one called Sentimental Fools by Marvin and Garp. And for those of you who haven't heard this album, it's from earlier this year, and it's really got this like funky R&B, West Coast pop type sound to it. Marvin and Garp are Dutch musicians, really aiming to sort of recreate that 70s West Coast pop sound with their music. Very funky, very just, upbeat, positive, kind of the opposite of goth, is what I'm coming to realize. Notable tracks from that album are The Way and Making Up. And I personally prefer Making Up, but The Way is also a good one. And just so you know, going forward, I'm going to link all these songs that I mention in the description so you guys can hear them. So if you really like that poppy West Coast sound, 70s R&B funk, you're really going to love Marvin and Garp. They're relatively new. Their first album, which was Sentimental Fools, just released earlier this year. They have barely 1,000 followers on Spotify. So go check them out if it sounds like that's something you'd be into. Alright, so the next album I want to mention is called Learning to Crawl by Pretenders. Or maybe it's The Pretenders, I don't remember. But these guys sort of have one foot in the new wave scene and also one foot in the classic rock scene. And they were recommended to me by Spotify because I listened to The Police. And they're sort of similar to The Police in the sense that they're just, rock, I guess you could call new wave sort of. Although their drumming is not as elaborate as Stuart Copeland's, but I digress. Just that album, Learning to Crawl, had a lot of bops on it. You might know them, the Pretenders, because they have that song. It's like, it's called Stand By You, and it's like, I'll stand by you. I won't let anyone hurt you. But, yeah, really, really great album with a lot of bops. Notable tracks from that album are Back on the Chain Gang and Time the Avenger. And there were a lot more, but those are just the ones that I remember. And I'm gonna link those down in the description so you guys can hear them. But yeah, if you like The Police, I would definitely check these guys out. Even if you like any hardcore new wave bands like The Clash, The Cure, The Smiths, I think you'd really like these guys. And then we have, this was a recommendation from a friend actually, and a song that I revisited. It's a very nostalgic song for me, and that song is Upside Down by Jack Johnson, and a lot of you will probably remember it as the song from the Curious George movie. Now, I was in kindergarten when this movie came out, and I remember I was invited to someone's birthday party to go see it. And I don't remember the movie all that much. I don't even remember the music all that much, but what I do remember is that my mom had this song on her iPod, and I would just hear it a lot, and I really liked the song, and it really goes hard, honestly. All these years later, just listening to it, it really goes hard. It's a great song. So I would definitely check it out if you haven't, and if you remember this song, it would be a very fun, little nostalgia trip for you. It was for me. Plus, it's just a really good song. So I really like Jack Johnson's vocals on this song, and it's just like he plays acoustic guitar. It's really nice. So yeah, check it out. Really good song. And then I heard the song I Was Made to Love Her, which was a song I knew previously because it's on the Beach Boys album Wild Honey. And for a while I thought this song was a Beach Boys song, because that was the only place I knew it from, really. But it was only this past month, that I discovered that it's actually a Stevie Wonder song, which sort of makes sense because Wild Honey's got that whole like R&B type thing going for it. But yeah, for the longest time I thought this song was just a Beach Boys original. Carl sings vocals on the track, but then I discovered it was actually a Stevie Wonder song. I discovered this because I looked it up to play on piano, and I realized it said Stevie Wonder, not the Beach Boys, and I'm like, huh. So I looked up the Stevie Wonder version, and yeah, it goes just as hard as the Beach Boys version. I think I like the Beach Boys version a little better because I love Carl Wilson and his voice. I think he does a great job on the track. But yeah, it's a really great R&B soulful song. I love to play it on piano. It's a really just fun song to play and sing along to. So check it out if you're into the Beach Boys and the album Wild Honey, but also just like R&B in general and soul. It's a very, very soulful song. One that I really liked. And then this was also a recommendation from a friend. I listened to the album Motivational Music for the Syncopated Soul by Cory Wong. And he's, if you don't know, he's like him and his band. I don't know if he has like a band, like a permanent band, or maybe just like session musicians he plays with. But like, he's like funk music. He plays guitar, very talented guitarist, and him and his band just play like funk music. And so this album, Motivational Music for the Syncopated Soul, was just a lot of like funk tunes. And I was, at the time when I listened to this, I was getting really into funk, like Wolfpack, Fearless Flyers, all those guys. And so my friend recommended Cory Wong to me, and I thought he was great. I thought it was a great album, really funky, loved it. Some notable tracks from that are Limited World, Starting Line, and Companion Pass. I think I liked Limited World the most. Like, that was like the most defining track from this album for me. Also a very like pretty pronounced bass line in like his songs, which I always really like from funk music. I think Wolfpack does it best, but like Cory Wong, you definitely hear that accentuated bass line, which is kind of just like a staple of funk music in my opinion. But the funny thing about the song Starting Line is that when I heard it, it reminded me of the music from Persona 5. And so I texted my brother when I heard the song and sent it to him because I know he likes Persona 5. And I was like, hey, this song reminds me of Persona 5. And he totally agreed with me. He's like, yeah, that's like exactly like Persona 5. And that actually inspired my next listen of last month, which was the Persona 5 soundtrack. And that soundtrack is like 3 hours long. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I listened to a lot of it. A lot of it is just like instrumental tracks, which is good to like study to, whatever. But there are some vocal tracks too. The vocal tracks are my favorite. The one I liked most of all was called Wake Up, Get Out There. And I couldn't really make out the band's name. I think it was a bunch of artists that, did the tracks on that album. But it's in Japanese, so I can't really read Japanese. And I'm too lazy to translate it. But the singer on this track, Wake Up, Get Out There, is named Lynn. And she does a great job. I thought it was... she sounded almost like African American to me when she was singing. Turns out, according to my brother, she's Japanese. And she was singing English. But it sort of gave me that vibe of like... sort of like Ella Fitzgerald type singing. And for whatever reason, I just thought it was like an African American woman singing. But it wasn't. So she's actually Japanese. But she sings English lyrics. So She has a great voice, though. Very cool song. And if you've heard the Persona 5 soundtrack, it's something very special. I would definitely advise you to check it out if you like anything like funky, R&B type style. But I would also say Persona 5 is like its own thing. The songs from that game are like their own thing. It's truly something very special. I would definitely urge you to check it out if you're like, again, into like funk or anything like that. Especially this track, Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There, which I will put in the description for you all to check out. And so after that, I listened to an album called Nonagon Infinity by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, which was a recommendation from a friend. And what he told me when he recommended it to me is that the album's gimmick is that the last track, the end of the last track, loops seamlessly into the beginning of the first track, which I thought was really cool. And that was enough for me to go and listen to it. And what I always do when people recommend me things, music, is I put it in my Spotify library, and I just have this like backlog of albums to listen to. So I never really have anything not to listen to. But this one kind of jumped to the top of my priority list because it just seems so cool. So I listened to it, and let me tell you, it blew my fucking balls off. It starts up with Robot Stop. That's the name of the song. And it really reminded me of Led Zeppelin a lot because it just has that like late 60s, 70s, like psychedelic rock type sound to it. Funnily enough, it reminds me of Led Zeppelin, but the singer sounds like Ozzy Osbourne. So, yeah, go figure. But, really cool. It also reminded me of Led Zeppelin because you can't really take this album like track for track. I feel like you have to listen to the whole album, the album as a whole, to get the whole experience. That's also partially because, you know, the songs like loop into one. They don't loop into one another, but like they sort of transition into one another. Like if you played one, it would probably just like stop abruptly because the album is designed that way. But very cool, very cool. If you really are a fan of like Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath or just like psychedelic rock in general, hard rock, definitely check these guys out. They're doing some really interesting things. But funnily enough, I listened to their most recent album, which actually released this year. Very different from Nonagon Infinity, which I also liked their most recent album, but it was just very different. But I would definitely recommend anyone who likes hard rock, psychedelic rock, Led Zeppelin, to check out Nonagon Infinity. And it's got a cool gimmick to it. So, yeah. I'm gonna link that song Robot Stop in the description for anyone who wants to check it out. And sticking to the trope of hard rock, another thing I listened to this month was Battle at the Garden's Gate, which is Greta Van Fleet's new album. And not a lot that I loved, but they do have this one song called Built by Nations. And I felt like they sounded a lot like Led Zeppelin in this song. Like, I know people have been saying that, but like I never really thought they sounded exactly like Led Zeppelin, apart from in Safari Song, which is another song of theirs that I really like and also listened to this month. But also this song Built by Nations. It's honestly not even like just the whole song. It's really just like the intro, the guitar. It's got like a weird pedal like fuzzbox thing on it, and the drums in conjunction with the guitar are like what really give it like Zeppelin vibes for me. Not my favorite album of theirs, but they are kind of like building a name for themselves now, and like they're sort of like getting their own identity, which I think is really cool. Like they're doing their own thing. A lot of people were complaining they were too similar to Led Zeppelin when they first hit the scene, which, you know, I never really saw that much, but it's good to see that they're like sort of coming into their own now. I'm not that much a fan of it, but I'm glad to see that they're, you know, doing their own thing now, getting their own voice. But I really like that song Built by Nations. I'm going to link it in the description for anyone who wants to check it out. And then what I listened to this month was United, which is an album with Marvin Gaye and Tami Terrell, because when I listened to this album, when I was first going to listen to this album, I thought of that song, Let's Get It On, and I thought that was just like the cheesiest, like sappiest R&B song I could think of. And I was like, oh, that's Marvin Gaye. And I really love that shit, honestly. Like, that's my favorite type of R&B music, like just the sappy, slow, kind of cheesy stuff. Anyway, I was on a Marvin Gaye kind of just like, I had a Marvin Gaye urge. And so I just checked out his most popular album, which was this album United. And what I discovered is that the track Ain't No Mountain High Enough is on this album, which I have a fond memory of that song because one time on a trip to Pennsylvania, we went to Wendy's, and that was when they were giving out those like CDs as toys with like 2-3 songs on them. Anyway, one of the songs on the CD from Wendy's was Ain't No Mountain High Enough, and we listened to that like the whole way to Pennsylvania, and I was there with my cousin. We were just like singing that song over and over again. So I have some very nostalgic type memories with that song. It was cool to hear it. I had actually never known it was Marvin Gaye until now, but pretty cool. Really great song. Also, the track You've Got What It Takes and If This World Were Mine were just, I thought, notable tracks from this album. And yeah, for anyone who just likes, classic R&B music, really slow, sappy R&B tunes, definitely check this out. And check out Marvin Gaye in general. I think you'll really be into him. Admittedly, I haven't listened to a lot of his discography, but listening to this album has definitely gotten me interested, and I want to hear more of him in the future. So yeah, check it out if you're into that. And then the next album I listened to, which was another recommendation from a friend, was To Let a Good Thing Die by Bruno Major. And so this album's genre is kind of hard to pinpoint, in my opinion. It's sort of R&B at times, bedroom pop at times, even like Frank Sinatra big band style at times. It's a little foggy to me, but that's a good thing, like that syncretism of different genres is very cool. Notable tracks from that album are Nothing. That's the name of the song, which is one of my favorite songs ever after hearing it. It's just a very, I don't know. So I just get a certain vibe from certain songs. It's very, very good. It's sort of a slower, more like, lovey type tune, which is always what I'm into. Not so much R&B. In fact, a little bit of lo-fi, I would say. That's what I feel with like all his music. I said R&B and bedroom pop earlier, but what I meant to say was lo-fi. And then the song Regent's Park, which is like probably the most confluence of genres track on that album. You've got like the lo-fi going on, the R&B going on, and then like he sort of sounds like Frank Sinatra. The way he sings sort of reminds me of like Frank Sinatra. Really good song nonetheless. But yeah, if you are into like crazy chords and like, sort of like light R&B, I'm not going to say like smooth jazz, but like sort of like light R&B, bedroom pop, lo-fi type stuff. Definitely check this one out. And his voice is very good, Bruno Major. Yeah, for anyone who's into like lo-fi bedroom pop or even R&B, definitely check this one out. I really enjoyed it. A lot of great tracks. One of which is now one of my favorite songs. So, and then what I listened to after that was an album, the album Commodores by Commodores. And what I realized after listening to this band is that, what's his name? Lionel Richie. This is the band that Lionel Richie was in before he had his solo career. And I love Lionel Richie and his voice. Like, I never really listened to a lot of his stuff, but I know the song Hello, and I know Easy Like Sunday, or Easy it's called. And yeah, that song Easy is actually on this album. I thought that was a Lionel Richie song for the longest time, but it's actually a Commodores song. But what I really like about this album, it might be like the exact thing I'm into right now. Like it just hit it right on the head. Like this like funky R&B, sort of disco sounding, just like 70s music is what I'm very much into right now. And so a notable track from this album, obviously Easy, but also Won't You Come Dance With Me, I really liked. So if you're into like funk, R&B, even disco, I would check this one out. Again, it's their album Commodores, and the band is Commodores. It's like a self-titled album. Check it out if you're into that. Really cool stuff. And then another album I listened to this past month, was the album Raw Honey by Drugdealer. This may be one of, if not my favorite albums I listened to this month. It was a recommendation from a friend. And this friend and I have very similar music interests, music preferences. And he was really crazy about this album. And whenever he's excited about a song or an album, I'm really excited about it. It's almost guaranteed that if he likes it, I'm going to like it. But Raw Honey, the album is called. Kind of funny because Wild Honey is my favorite album. So maybe I just like albums that have honey in the name. But yeah, the track Honey from this album is a really awesome track. The thing about this album is it really sounds like it was made in the 60s. I think my dad put it best when he heard a track from this album and said, oh, this sounds like someone, like a current band trying to emulate what 60s music sounds like. And I very much agree with him, but I also think they do it very well. It just gave me like classic rock vibes, frankly. Yeah, the song Honey is a great one. And it kind of reminds me of the Beatles, actually, because the guitar really sounds like George playing the guitar. I would mistake this for 60s music, honestly. And then the track Fools, which sort of reminds me of Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. In fact, it sounds a lot like them. If you hear the track, it's got like those harmonies going on and stuff. And I actually listened to this album 3 times through the day it was recommended to me. So, really cool. One of my favorites. If you're into like the Beatles or like any bands from the 60s, I think you're really going to like this album. It has something for everyone, I think. Check it out. I think it has widespread appeal, whether you're into classic rock or even, current music and looking for something to listen to. I think it's really great. But for people who are fans of the Beatles or Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, or really any 60s band, this album is going to be a real treat for you. And then the last album I listened to this month, which is, I know I said Raw Honey is like maybe my favorite I listened to this month, but this album is definitely my favorite I listened to this month. It's Just Music by Payday. And I discovered Payday on SoundCloud. She's a SoundCloud rapper originally. She's 16 years old from California. And I was reading her Spotify artist bio a little bit. And what it said was, at the age of 14, I think it was, she bought a $12 mic from Walmart and just started making her own raps and beats. And she was very inspired by the likes of Kanye West, Eminem, all those guys. And she is extremely talented. I feel like I just have so much to say about her. She's my favorite artist right now. She's actually performing at Lollapalooza, which is crazy. She's 16 years old, 16. But she is amazing. I absolutely adore her. Her song Big Boy, which was released as a single and is now part of her album House of Puke, her new album House of Puke, is my favorite track of 2021. And I am definitely going to link that in the description for anyone who wants to hear it. It's such a fun song. The beat is really cool. And I think it just showcases her rap. One of the songs that showcases her rapping ability. It's just sort of a fun song too. I really love like songs that don't take themselves too seriously, and this is definitely one of them. Definitely check it out. It's really funny, really fun. Also just like a bop to listen to. It is explicit though, so don't play it in front of your parents. But yeah, I love that song. My favorite song of 2021. She's also got a really great voice, and I don't know if it's like auto-tune or something, but like she can sing, you know. And I don't think that's better showcased than in the song Supreme Underwear, which is from that same album, It's Just Music. Big Boy is actually not on that album, It's Just Music. That was a single, and now it's on her album House of Puke. But Supreme Underwear is on that album, It's Just Music, I was telling you about. And if you want to really get a sense of her rapping talent, I would listen to Smiley Freestyle, which is literally just her freestyling. So cool. She's so talented. She's honestly, I never really get it. I've never really gotten into like hip hop and rap, but she's been like the first, you know, hip hop artist that I've really sort of just like become obsessed with. So definitely I would definitely recommend you check her out. She is my favorite artist right now, and she's making some great music. And if she'll be at Lollapalooza too, so if you're thinking of going down there, she'll be performing on Friday, July 30th, sorry. Yeah, but and that does it. Yeah, so that's what I've been listening to. That's what I've listened to last month. A lot of great new music I've discovered. I feel like I've hopped so many genres this month. I went from like funk to pop to R&B to hard rock and then to hip hop of all places, which is something I would have never expected from myself. But I think it's really cool that, like, you know, I was all over the place this month. And I discovered some songs that I would honestly call some of my favorites right now, if not of all time. And I can't wait to see where I go this month, June 2021. And if you want to find out, I'll be making another episode to cover that. And so with that, I guess that's the end. But I'm going to link all these tracks in the description for anyone who wants to check them out. And in conclusion, my name is Charlie Strecker, otherwise known as Char Jungle. And thank you for listening to the first episode of my podcast, Music Talks. I don't know when the next episode is coming or what it's going to be about, but if you want, you know, ping me. I don't know if that's what the kids say, but yeah, just let me know what you want to see in the next episode. You can comment on YouTube or SoundCloud. You can follow me on Instagram at Charles_Strecker, and you can DM me. I'll probably post about the dropping of this episode. You can comment on the post. Tell me what you'd love to see in future episodes. I'm thinking about also having people on, maybe to interview them or something. You know, these are all ideas right now, but yeah, let me know what you'd like to see. And yeah, that's it. This has been Music Talks, and this is Charlie Strecker signing off. Thanks for listening.